Hello everyone, I'm Alice. I'm a marketing apprentice from Hendy Group. I'm here with Jasön, the artist of our Armoured Hare, to talk for all things Hares of Hampshire and
It's
art.
fantastic. Thank you for inviting me on.
No, you're welcome. It's very exciting. So I thought we'd sort of start with right at the beginning, almost.
Go on.
And you as an artist, rather than you with the hair, just you as an artist. So what were you brought up with art? Is art something you've always wanted to do?
Only since last September.
Really?
I jacked in a 40-year career as an engineer to become a full-time artist.
Wow.
I've always been interested in art, always been surrounded by art.
Yeah.
Grew up in a very bohemian lifestyle in mid-Wales. And I wanted to get back to that. I think 2020 and the pandemic really affected a lot of people.
Yeah.
And did I want to be still in that environment?
Yeah.
I decided not. September I decided to become a full-time artist.
Seeing that hair, that was not the answer I was expecting, I must admit.
I've always been into art and I've loved to be very artistic. I used to be very artistic in my work style. Been working around leather for almost 10, 12 years now.
Wow.
Still on a learning curve with it, but thank you for your kind comments. And to do that on a hare, it was pretty fantastic. So I put the idea together, and 18 months later, here we are.
Here we are.
And very exciting. Yeah, very, very exciting.
I noticed on the hare you've got obviously the cathedral.
We have on the left shoulder is the cathedral.
And then the centre and the
the
chest,
Alfred the Great on the centre.
Yeah,
on the
and
centre.
that obviously links to Winchester.
And the War Memorial on the back. You've got a few other little adaptations and the Celtic knots and so forth. You've got the Celtic infinity knot on the right-hand side, and you've got the love heart on the left-hand side. So it all sort of ties together.
And was there any, obviously it's the Armoured Hare of Winchester, is there any particular reason for Winchester? Is it
all
where
had
the
to me.
trail
I mean,
is?
with Alfred the Great, because obviously we're talking about so far away back then, we did have leather armour. It all mixed together better than any other. Yes, I could have probably done this trail for many other creatures and many other towns and cities, but it wouldn't have worked that well.
Yeah.
Having Winchester, and I think I nailed it on the head there. It wouldn't have worked as well.
Okay.
Alfred is just such a huge figure, and to have him on the breastplate really does stand out.
Yeah, agreed.
I don't think anything else could have fitted, to be honest with you.
No. Keeping on theme of the hare, what made you want to do a hare? Obviously it's for a great cause, but is there anything other than that?
For a leathered armoured sculpture, I don't think it would have worked on any other sculpture.
Yeah.
A lot of these sculptures are, I hate to say it, more cartoony like. The only one it probably could have worked on would have been one of the Elmers and having an armoured elephant.
Yes.
But other than that, I don't think it would have worked. It had to be a hare, and the hare is such a majestic creature. It had to be armoured in my. And when I first saw it back in Norwich, I thought, even though they were the moon gazing ones, I thought it had to be armoured. There's no other creature that deserves armour more than a hare.
Yeah. And I feel like there's one question that I need to get out.
Yeah, go on.
How long did it take for you to create the hare?
From having the idea of creating a small, I can say at the moment, a small armoured hare, I was expecting it to be hitting about the 120-hour mark until I saw the size of your hares, and they're huge, absolutely massive things. It's like over 6 foot.
It's massive.
It took about 270 hours.
Wow.
And that is, I couldn't have physically worked any harder. It got to the point where my fingers were bleeding and I couldn't actually hold a needle. So I'd just carry on working until I got cramp, and then I'd have a break of 12 hours and then I'd get back to it. So I physically pushed myself to a limit of 270.
And those 270 hours, what time?
It was over a very, very short period of time. I mean, we had 6 weeks to actually, from me initially getting the brief to getting it sorted. All the leather arrived in time. Half the leather arrived in time because I had to reorder. So a lot of the leather arrived in time. So it was a case of getting it cut out and getting it stitched together. It took about 3, maybe 4 weeks. It was hard graft.
And that sort of end process of getting it onto the hair and stitching it all together, was that what takes the longest? Is that?
Actually, the designing of all the panels, because they're all individual panels, so figuring out the panels and how it's going to fit on the actual hair, then making the corset for the panels to go onto, because all those leather panels are not actually attached to the hair. So they had to have the collar, the initial collar to start with, and then you have the actual girdle which fits all over the entire hair, which then the panels fit to. So I'm using my engineering skills. Yes, it was sort of do it from the top up. The helmet was probably one of the most difficult parts, because again that just slides off if you undo the laces at the back.
Really?
You can actually take the whole helmet completely off.
I'm not going to try it.
No, please don't. Please don't. And you can put it back on again. But yes, it was a bit of a logistical nightmare, but it was something I really enjoyed doing. It was very pleasurable to do. You actually see what you're doing.
And did you complete the hair and like design and create have you got an environment that's specific to you, or like a studio that you?
My whole lifetime is my studio.
Really?
Everything from where I work on parks, and I work outside in the fresh air. I spend a lot of time in nature, and that is my environment. So my environment from outside to inside, I have 3 studios, one for leatherworking and one for obviously painting. The hair wouldn't actually fit in my studio because it's so big, and I had to use my partner's studio. So I pushed it in there and I slung her out and put it down to another studio. So it worked that way. But yes, my studio is my life, and my life is my surroundings, and I don't really have anything negative in my surroundings. So whatever I do in my life, that is my studio. Even being here today and driving down and looking around for Southampton. This is now my studio, because I'm now just looking at everything and imagining what I could do next.
Yeah. Wow. You said that you've worked with leather for a really long time, but are there any current trends at the moment that are influencing your work, or that have influenced your work?
Current trends? No, I don't follow trends at all. I'm completely free spirit, and I wouldn't even class myself as an artist. I don't even follow that trend of an artist. I'm not an artist. I'm a creative spirit, and I've always enforced that with a lot of people. Sorry for being enforceful. I do things my way, and I do whatever I please, to be honest with you. It's quite nice, and that sort of flows into my artwork. And is at the moment I'm painting boats. I love painting boats. Not actually painting on boats, but painting pictures of boats. I love painting boats. Terrified of the water, but I love painting boats. There's a flow to a boat which I really like. And I live in Ipswich, which is not really coastal, so there's not really boats really. So I don't know why I'm doing painting boats. So I like to buck a trend. Even with my leatherwork, you see a lot of leatherworkers, and I'm not going to knock any leatherworker out there at all. They're all absolutely fantastic, but I like to be a little bit different. Even my embossing or my engraving, or the carving of the leatherwork, I will be that little bit different. I will buck a trend and say there are better ways, or not even a better way to do something, but there's a different way to do it, and that is maybe pleasing to my eye and hopefully pleasing to my customers' eyes. I like to be that little bit different.
Well, it shows
Thank you.
Positively in the hair.
Thank you. Thank you. With any trends, if I'm working with leather, I try to get into the environment of leather armour. So I do play a lot of video games, I must admit. I love my Skyrim, Skyrim brothers. And watching the armour on a video game helps me envisage what I'm going to create.
Oh, really?
And it's the same with the boats or anything. If I can immerse myself into that environment, now that is a little bit of a trend. But I'll try to immerse myself into the environment which I am in the creative mood to be. And that will change from day to day. Or if I have a commission coming up, then for instance with the leatherwork, I have commissions coming up that I will immerse myself deeply. So that is a artist trend, so to speak.
Okay, interesting.
Follow me on my Instagram on 1440 Creative Spirit, and I'll show you the way, and hopefully show many other people the way forward.
Well, thank you ever so much, Jasön.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, and thank you everybody.
To meet you and to see the hair.
Likewise, thank you, Hendy, for
No,
sponsoring me.
you're more than welcome.
It's absolutely fantastic. Without you guys, I wouldn't even be here. Thank Hares of Hampshire and Nadine and everybody else, and Murray Parish Strush. I really hope this hair makes you a hell of a lot of money.
So do I. Fingers crossed.
Fingers
Thank
crossed.
you, Jasön.
Thank you, everybody, again.